Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Before learning about Aviva IQ, I used to spend so much time managing my guest communications manually. Now, with Aviva IQ's easy-to-use automated service, my workload has reduced by 80%. Did I mention it's free? Automate your Airbnb messages now at www.avivaiq.com. Welcome, everybody. I'm here with my co-host for today, Nicole Prentice Williams. Oh, Nicole, how's it going?
Great. I'm so happy to be here again with you, Jasper. Thanks. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me. And of course, Nicole is the VP of Strategic Partnerships of Hostfully, and she's been on the podcast before. What shall we start out with?
I think this video that surfaced actually right outside of Los Angeles, where I'm based, is making all kinds of headlines. So maybe we should start there about the woman who was basically her reservation was canceled as she was arriving to the property. And Airbnb has removed the host because it was all based on, it was discrimination basically against her. It's amazing screenshots that she grabbed, and just the whole story is quite shocking.
It absolutely was quite shocking. And I find it a bit of a strange story as well, because, well, first of all, this took place in February. There was a lady and her fiance. Initially, they wanted to travel by themselves, just the two of them. And the lady is a 25-year-old law student of the University of California. And she made the reservation in, what was it, Bear Mountain?
Big Bear, which is the closest ski area to Los Angeles.
Right. Okay. So initially it was just going to be the two of them. But then they decided to invite some of their friends to come along as well. And also two puppies.
Yeah.
And which is interesting, because initially the host actually accepted the change in the reservation, but only when they arrived and she asked the host how she could pay for the extra guests. And that's when the host started spewing all sorts of like racist comments at her. And you can read them in the screenshots on the article. She's also posted these pictures on her Facebook page. He was saying things like, "I wouldn't rent to you if you were the last person on earth. Want something for nothing. In one word, Asian." So this person really made it sound like that the reason that this person canceled the reservation was because the lady was Asian. Which
she must have known from the very beginning, since she approved her, or maybe it was an instant book. Who knows? And she just discovered it later. But even the comments were outrageous, and this woman just happened to pull over, I guess, in Big Bear, trying to figure out where she was going to stay, her and her friends, or her fiance and friends. And there happened to be a local news crew there that got all of this on video as it was happening. Great timing by the news crew. Weird that the host canceled her at the last minute after all of this conversation. And even if it was an instant book, there was communication after that. So she must have known that the woman was Asian. So yeah, it's very strange the timing on this as the woman arrived. I mean, my guess. I was like, why would this happen? Maybe she got a better booking on another platform at the last minute because it's been a record snowfall, great conditions here this winter, or in winter when this actually happened in February. But why come after somebody so viciously? It doesn't make, that part doesn't make sense. Yeah. And what else? The other thing that doesn't make sense, and I know some people at that news station here in Los Angeles and reached out to them this morning, but have not heard back, is why this video was shot in February with the woman about her reservation being canceled and how distraught she was, yet it wasn't released until this week, until April. So it's 6 weeks later.
Yeah, that's a bit strange as well. The woman, she was very emotional in the video. She was crying, and I think the video has been shared all over Facebook. And yeah, I don't know why suddenly this week a lot of news channels reported this story. I mean, I saw at least a dozen sites worldwide, in Australia, in England, in the US. It was really all over the news. So I don't know. Maybe is there an initial article that was published in February by the original news crew, and maybe it was just shared by other websites last week?
It doesn't seem like it. It seems like it. They reported on it this Wednesday, and they released the video this Wednesday. And it's actually a story on the Washington Post, and it says it's unclear why they did not air the story earlier. And it's not a print news outlet, it's a TV station, so it's all about the video, and this is pretty compelling video. So I almost, just being a former journalist myself and always suspicious and wanting more sources to back up the credibility, I wonder if they reached out to Airbnb with the video and alerted them before, and if this was some type of planned, we're going to release this video, but we want to give you a heads up. And if there was some strategy there, I don't know. Maybe that didn't happen, but I'm just trying to figure out why you would release such great video, coming from a television background myself, 6 weeks after the fact.
Right.
It would only help them ratings wise.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah. It's a really strange story, and I mean, my first thought when I read the article, I was thinking, it sounds like this person, the host, was maybe like completely drunk or something. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of a good explanation, because if you want to be racist, then you would probably decline the reservation initially. Or if you really want to screw somebody over, like you decline at last minute. But I mean, you must be a pretty evil person to think of.
Really
it's I mean, that's kind of extremely evil. I'd like to think people won't be that evil,
right.
But I just feel like maybe the person was just drunk or on drugs or something, and suddenly just out of the blue decided to go into this rage and just cancel the reservation. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me.
It's very odd.
Anyway, let's move on to the next article, which is kind of in line with what we've been talking about. It's an article on CNBC, and it talks about the efforts that Airbnb has put in to combat discrimination on the platform. And this is something that they've been doing for a while. I think they've made it a big priority. And I think the instant bookings, promoting instant bookings more to hosts was one way of doing it. But also they've made some other changes to the platform now in order to try to really create an environment where people are very unbiased as to, the host's or the guest race or gender or age or whatsoever. And one thing that they've done is, which I actually haven't seen before, this must have been a recent change, is that they removed the pictures of the hosts in the search results.
Yeah, they've taken that out, which is interesting. And they've also minimized the profile photos in general for guests and hosts. Yeah, critics say that they're not going far enough, that they should just not have any of that information available until the pictures and identity until the booking is complete, and then reveal it. That's how you get rid of all the discrimination. but Airbnb says, that's part of their culture is getting to know each other. And it's important for security too. And I think as a host, and we're both hosts on Airbnb, I don't know how you feel about it. I want the picture there. We have Instant Book on, and we have an open door policy as Airbnb likes to promote. However, our property is in a very quiet neighborhood where there are families and retired couples. And so when I see a picture that looks like a party or like it's somebody in a swimsuit that's scantily clad, or, it's just not a professional looking profile picture, it makes me ask more questions. So I need that picture to vet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. In the end of the day, as a host, you should be able to choose who gets to stay in your house. And, the picture is one of the pieces of information that you have as a host to make that decision. I mean, you have to base your decision on something, right? Mm-hmm. And so, what you base it on is you look at the person and you read the profile, you look at the verifications, the reviews, the references, and you form an impression of somebody. And that's the only way to base the decision on. You have to base it on that information. And I mean, if every now and then you're probably going to make a decision that's maybe not fair. Like, for example, if I get a request from a couple guys from London who come over to Amsterdam for the weekend, and they're kind of young, and maybe they're asking for a discount, that will create the image in my mind that these guys are going to come to Amsterdam to party, right? Mm-hmm. And that would be reason for me to decline the reservation. But who knows? I mean, maybe these guys are really well behaved and they actually want to go and see the Van Gogh Museum and go to a coffee shop and discuss the different their thoughts about the different paintings and behave very, very well. I mean, I don't know, but there's no way for me to know, so I have to base my decision on what I have.
Right, and that picture helps you. It helps you know if you need to have further communication with this person and setting expectations on. I would say to that, if that kind of guest was looking at our property, just want to make sure you're clear that you've read in our description that this is a family-friendly community and neighborhood, and that there are not curfews, but times where we expect the music to be down and people to be indoors and not out in the front and backyard. So that picture helps you, whereas if it was a retired couple, I wouldn't need to have that conversation, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly right. So I think Airbnb recognizes that, and they understand that the whole hosting experience, especially when you're hosting a spare room, so you're sharing a space with your guests. I think getting to know the person that you're hosting a little bit, as far as you can, is part of the experience. And so I get why they don't want to remove the pictures completely. It also doesn't really make that much sense to me that they remove it in the search results, because when you click on the listings, you can still see the pictures of the host. So if you're an Airbnb guest and you want to be a racist, I mean, you can. If you really want to be a racist, you can. Yeah. And I don't think there's much you can do to stop that. I mean, there's unfortunately there's some crazy people on this planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that they do that just showing that they're trying. I think that that's part of it. Like, yes, you can go a step further and see who is the host of that property, but I think that's just like their way of just trying to really live by what they're promoting, which is the open door policy. And I really commend them on that for, guaranteeing lodging for any guest who's unable to book on Airbnb because of discrimination. I feel like they're taking the right steps. They're not going to be able to eliminate it completely, and they don't want to compromise the product by doing what some critics are suggesting, which is take out the pictures until the booking. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, they want to show that they're doing something. And I guess they also think about the perspective of the host. So, they don't want the hosts, they don't want to piss off the hosts, and they don't want to piss off the guests. But at the same time, they want to show that they're doing something. And I guess, removing the picture on the search results, I don't think any hosts are really going to get very upset about that. And neither are the guests, because it's kind of like a minor thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hosts, if you're anything like me, you have multiple standard messages you send to every guest. I used to copy-paste those messages every time I had a new guest. But then I learned about Aviva IQ, and I'm an absolute fan. I copied my repeatable messages into Aviva IQ and told it when I want each message to be delivered. Now, all my guests get personalized check-in messages and personalized check-out messages at the exact time I want them to, automatically. I also use Aviva IQ to send a message to guests when a vacancy exists after their scheduled checkout day and invite them to stay longer. It's amazing how it's turned into free money for me on multiple occasions already. So sign up for free at www.avivaiq.com. You'll be glad you did. Let's talk about the next article. So I found an article that's actually been published a while ago, back in December 2016. But it came up in the search results when I was looking at the Airbnb news, and I want to mention it because I thought it was a useful article. And so the article is called "The Best Gear to Outfit a Vacation Rental or Airbnb." And I think especially for people who are starting out, one thing that's really important to do is to think about, what do my guests need? Is there something that they would need that I don't have? And it's very easy to sort of overlook certain items. And I learned this the hard way because I remember one of my first bookings that I got when I started hosting back in 2012 was a group that consisted of two couples. And I got some feedback from them because I didn't have a hairdryer. Now, as you can imagine, I don't really dry my hair as being a guy. I really didn't think of it. I just didn't realize that, a hairdryer is very important for women when they're traveling. And so, I think there's a few items. I also bought a toaster, and I didn't have a teapot, for example. I never drink tea, but then I had some English guests, and of course they wanted to have some tea with their breakfast. So I think it's useful. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a checklist of 24 items that you should invest in just to provide a better experience and a comparable experience to a hotel room as well. I love the list. I think we started hosting in 2012 and maybe didn't have all these initially. I'm sure we didn't. And of course now we do, but it's a good checklist for anyone getting started. And actually it's a good checklist for me to make sure that we have all this still in stock. What I love the most are protectors for the mattress and pillows. I think this is really reassuring to any guest. We've put them on all of our mattresses and pillows just to let the guests, they know that, cleanliness is high on our priority list and making sure there are no bed bugs getting into any mattresses and stuff. So I'm glad to see that that's on the list. I think actually one thing that we don't have and I need to get is the tea kettle. We are big on coffee. We even have a video on how to work the coffee machine because we have a fancy one in there. But we don't have this tea kettle. We haven't had a request for it. So I should do that before I get the request.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually been staying at Airbnbs quite a lot recently. And, now that when I stay at an Airbnb, I always wonder and I ask myself, like, hey, is there something missing here? And just to name a couple of examples from the last few months. I mean, one place I stayed in Santiago in Chile, it was, when you're cooking, how do you call the thing that you use to cook on? The furnace?
The stove?
The stove.
The stove, yeah. Or furnace, maybe. I don't know. In the U.S., it's the stove.
I've been known to make up words in the English language, so I don't know if the furnace is a word. But anyway, the stove, it was a gas stove. And so you have to light it somehow. And the host provided matches to light it, which I thought was, not really the best way to light it. because you have to kind of get close to the fire with your hand. And so, you have these devices, and they're a bit long. I really don't know how you call them, but they're basically used. It produces a little spark. It's almost like a little gun that produces a spark, right? And so I thought it would be useful, to provide that. So, and then
instead
also
of matches.
Yeah. I think that's because the matches also you have to throw them away and they can run out, and then also one host didn't have a bottle opener, so I bought a bottle of wine and then I couldn't open it.
Oh no! Oh, so easy. It's just like making sure you have better toilet paper. You can get a wine opener for like under $10. You can upgrade your toilet paper for under $10.
Exactly. Yeah.
These are easy things.
But then if you never drink wine, which is kind of hard to imagine if you live in Santiago in Chile, because they have excellent wines there. But if you never drink wine, then that could be something that you don't think about.
It's hard for you and I to imagine, period, wherever you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, this is it's a good list. It has some other stuff, some other things that are pretty common sense, like towels and a shower curtain liner. I actually don't know what that is. Coffee making gear, electric kettle, mini fridge. Mini fridge is an interesting one, actually. Wine glasses, standing fan, space heater, and lots of other stuff. So just wanted to mention
one thing that we don't have is the Wi-Fi extender too. That was the last one, close to the last, the Wi-Fi extender. Do you offer that?
No, I don't think I have a Wi-Fi extender. I did buy a more expensive router that has a wider reach. So I think maybe it has an extender built in. But yeah, my apartment's also not so big. Yeah, it's not very big.
Yeah, we did install. We canceled all cable in our properties and installed the Google Chromecast. As well as we have a smart TV. So we do get some questions on that, which I always have to redirect them back to the listing. Like, no, we don't have cable. It's all through your own device and you can cast it up there. But I prefer that. And that way they can watch. They're not telling me, oh, you don't have this, you don't have that. It's like, well, you can watch whatever you have that's that you subscribe to. So it works for most.
Yeah, that's a great idea. By the way, for the listeners, if you want to find these articles that we always talk about and mention, there's 3 ways that you can find them. First of all, I post them in an Airbnb group called Airbnb News that you can join. Secondly, they will be in the show notes of the podcast episodes that you can find at getpaidforyourpet.com/podcast. And then the third way is to subscribe to my newsletter, because I always mention the articles as well in the newsletter that's always sent out on Monday. And Nicole recently mentioned to me that it was hard to find how to sign up for the newsletter. So I've added a completely new button to my blog where it says sign up for the newsletter. So it's easy to find. So just wanted to mention that so that people know where to find all this. And yeah, thank you for the heads up, by the way. That's really useful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next topic. There's something going on with the governor of California, of the person who's running for the position of the governor of California, who's gotten some money from Airbnb, basically, correct?
Yeah, I mean, so the governor's race is coming up, or it's happening. They're beginning to raise money, the candidates. And Gavin Newsom, who is the former mayor of San Francisco, he has received the most donations from Airbnb employees, basically, which is more than $200,000. And so he's leading basically against the other 2 candidates, which are the former mayor of LA and the California treasurer, which have received less than $100,000 from any one, their largest contribution. So I think this would be really helpful for Airbnb to have the former mayor of San Francisco in the governor's office. That's where Airbnb is headquartered, and he's a very progressive. He was very progressive mayor of San Francisco, and now the lieutenant governor of he's the existing lieutenant governor of California. So big discrepancy there in the donation, more than double.
Mm-hmm. And how do these governors get elected, by the way? Does everybody get to vote?
Oh, any registered voter, resident of California who's registered. The election is coming up in November 2018. So yeah, if you're registered, you can vote. And
Okay, interesting. So it's in November. So we should
2018 next year. So they start these campaigns a year and a half ahead of time.
Oh, it's in 2018. Oh, it's a year and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's all, the money is starting now, Jasper.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not so familiar with American
That's US
politics
for you. Yeah, exactly. Nothing starts the year of.
Yeah, I was going to say like, hey, everybody, let's all vote for Mr. Newsom, so that Airbnb might have some more friendly laws in the state. But if it's a year and a half from now, then that's a little premature.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be good for Airbnb to have him there. So
there was an article in the Business Insider where they were talking about a sort of a hidden fee that Airbnb charges, because they started charging a 3% currency conversion fee, and there's been some comments from Airbnb hosts on some certain platforms where they're complaining about that. And I thought about it, and I think basically what's happening is that if you book an Airbnb in a country where there's a different currency, so for the sake of simplicity, let's assume that you're in the US and you want to book an Airbnb in Europe. Now in Europe, you pay with euros, right? So I think what used to happen before is that if you book it, then you're paying in euros. And so if you're using a credit card, then the credit card company is going to change those euros to dollars, and it's going to charge you in dollars, and it's going to take a fee on that conversion. And I think what Airbnb started doing is they probably thought, hey, there's nice money to be made on these currency conversion fees. And the reason is that because people are doing both way around. There's Europeans booking in the US, and there's US citizens booking in Europe. And so, if it's about the same, then Airbnb doesn't actually have to convert anything, right? But they get to charge the fees to both.
Yeah, I think so. There might be some confusion where guests thought that they were either paying the fees double, like to their credit card and to Airbnb. I think Airbnb is just doing it themselves so that once it gets on the credit card, it's in the currency that the guest actually pays. So it's not a double fee. I don't know how much Airbnb has notified guests of this, because there seems to be a few conversations out there online about, hey, now they're charging this fee. I've had to pay $150 extra, but I think they're misunderstanding that they might have paid that anyway to the credit card company. So it's just a transfer. Airbnb saw an opportunity to make money instead of having somebody else do it. So that's
exactly
where it's at.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. That's how it reads, at least. You can actually go to the Airbnb site, and they have a page. I don't know if you're going to post this page there, Jasper, but it might be helpful to the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put it in there for sure. All right, Nicole, thank you so much for participating in this podcast and hosting it with me.
Always fun talking with you.
Absolutely.
And talking to our listeners.
And, I'll look forward to our next chat in a few weeks. And for the listeners, thank you for listening. And we'll be back on Monday.
Get paid for your pet. Get paid for your pet. Get paid for your pet.